For me, what makes it continue to be exciting to write a record after being on our 15th record is the fact that, and I'm very grateful for this, but we still have fans out there interested in what Bad Religion are releasing. There are a lot of bands that have been around as long as us, or there had been some, and there are still some, and I won't name any names, but they're sort of still touring on their first 2 records, and that's all people care to hear at a show. We are very fortunate that every time we come up with a new record, our fans embrace our new material. And if you go see a Bad Religion show today, more than half the show will be comprised of our last 4 records, and those are the ones that our new generation of fans identify with and that they want to hear. Our first album was How Could Hell Be Any Worse? I don't think that we actually celebrated the release date. It wasn't, we weren't...
I don't think we had a release date.
Yeah, we weren't doing things so formally. We kind of picked up the records from the pressing plant and then...
sold them out of the back of our car.
Yeah, like drove them to record stores and, dropped them off on consignment and things like that. It wasn't really... I think there wasn't such a thing as a release date to us at that time, and we weren't part of that sort of real music business world. I have a tradition of going to the record store and buying the record when it comes out.
Yeah.
But as a band, usually we've been touring.
That's a tough question to answer because we haven't played the new songs live yet. So until you get out there and start playing them, and you don't know how you feel on stage playing songs. Sometimes you're really excited to play a song, you get out and it's just not translating live. You never know why, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, some songs are better as album tracks versus live tracks.
It's just hard to make it translate live. So, when you get out there and you start playing and you start putting songs together and you start making that set list in your mind where it's like, okay, these songs work together, this idea works together. You don't know, probably by the end of this tour we'll know a lot better.
I always say it's like a family, because I know it sounds cliche, but if you think about what a family has to do to function, they have to come together at the holidays, they have to do certain traditions and certain rituals, but they don't necessarily, as you get older, have to spend every day with them. And I think one of the great success stories of this band has been that we've all been able to evolve as individuals and move away from each other, and we've spent many years living in different cities even, and then when we have to, we come together and it feels fresh and exciting.
What you see right here is the longest consistent lineup the band has ever had in our 30-year career. No lineup has endured longer than this group, celebrating our 30-year anniversary. So we've all been together. When did you join the group, Brooks?
2000, 2001.
And I'm 94.
Yeah.
I look great for 94.
But you really do.
Thank you.
But we never had the same lineup for 9 years, and now we have with this lineup. So this is the real Bad Religion.
Eternity freedom, the masses of humanity have always had to They can listen but they cannot stay. Only places we can God on the prosperity makes us one with new confidence. We got a place to go when we die. The architect resides right here. Singing AOL. We've got the American Jesus, wants to make national fame. We've got the American Jesus, overwhelming millions every day. Yeah. He's the farmer's man. What's the army wheels? Expressions on the pieces of this running millions. The power of a man. To the judge of plan. He's a motive and the content of the murder. He's a preacher on TV. False and tyranny. Falling and treated by a big computers and nuclear bombs. The kids with no minds. A nipple that is inside me. Yeah. We've got the American Jesus. See him on the interstate. We've got the American Jesus. Exercising his authority. We've got the American Jesus. Wants to make national fame. We've got the American Jesus. Overwhelming millions everywhere. Yeah. One nation under God. 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 let you down. I curse the day that I was born, and all the sorrow in this world. Gotta make it to the hurting ground, where all good men are trampled down, just to set on a bed that cannot be won, between a prideful father and his son. Will you guide me now, for I can't see the reason for the suffering and the storm misery? Why did that live in so good, upright and strong? Well then I do imagine there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow no more. When all soldiers lay their weapons down, or when all kings and queens relinquish the crowns, or when the only true Messiah rescues us from ourselves, it's easy to imagine there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow no more. There will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow no more. Yeah, there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow no Hey! Angels fall that without warning. Carrie Nixon thought of being no dangerous curves. She had a bulletproof mind with big smart sharp eyes, and nothing you could say would get to her. So don't look over an angel from that rumble sea. I can storm twice and make it all go away. We'll tap every last drop until that music stops, and let the devil come join us dancing across that yellow sun. We'll run, and let the devil in stitches go and have his fun, performing for the chosen one. We can run. She was living on the edge of a knife. Her head was filled with restless gold. shivering.